Hi guys, this is Prix101. Before we begin, please subscribe. Thank you.
The Monza Grand Prix just happened, and it started with Max on pole, Lando second, and Oscar third. Now, if you didn't watch the race, given that they ended up in that same order, Max, Lando, and Oscar, you may think nothing major happened. No positions gained, no positions lost. But you would be terribly mistaken. Because the race was messy, and I'm talking, of course, about the Lando and Oscar incident, which turns out is really polarizing. So, to give some context on what happened, basically, Lando was ahead of Oscar during the race, and he had created a small gap that went from 4 seconds to 3 seconds. Then Will Joseph, Lando's race engineer, asked him if he wanted to pit for soft tires. And Lando was the one to suggest that they pitted Oscar first to avoid getting undercut by him, which was a very good call. But this is another issue I have, because the team is the one that's supposed to come up with these strategies. So when Lando said he didn't want to be first to pit, the strategies were essentially like, wow, that's a really good idea. I don't know why we didn't come up with it first, which is kind of messed up because it's kind of their job. But at least they listened to him. So, on lap 46, yes, 46, because McLaren were busy waiting for a virtual safety car that never came, they pitted Oscar. Now, Oscar's pit stop was the fastest of the race, at 1.9 seconds, which is really good. But then, when they pitted Lando, 1 lap later, we witnessed one of the worst pit stops of this season so far, at 5.9 seconds, almost 6 seconds.
So the problem here is that front left tire, so pay attention, and there we go, that's it.
This is a huge mistake from part of the crew. So, unlike others, personally, I think this is just a case of occasional incompetence. Occasional because we know they're able to do their job already. I mean, we saw it 1 lap before with Oscar in that amazing pit stop. But, you know, personally, I don't think this is part of some orchestrated plot to sabotage Lando. Has he been getting these lower pit stops out of the two of them lately? Yes, but I don't think the team does it on purpose. So after messing up big time the pit stop, Lando came back to the race behind Oscar. But soon after, the team asked Oscar to give the position back, which he wasn't too happy with the idea, but he complied without complaining too much.
So this is basically what Oscar told his engineer through radio. You can pause it and read it, or I will probably leave it on screen for a couple of seconds. So yeah, do that. Time's up.
Personally, I think this was probably the sensible thing to do. The team made a big mistake that cost Lando the position, but they found a way to fix it. Was the solution messy? Yes, it was. Of course it was messy. But the solution was messy because the problem was messier. I'm a McLaren fan and I'm not happy with how they did things either. But I also think we should cut them some slack. Yes, they made a mistake, but so does every other team. I mean, look at Ferrari.
I have the seat full of water, like full of water.
Must be the water.
Let's add that to the water filter.
We have to have in mind, McLaren has been dominating this year. They have been practically winning every race. I assure you, they know what they're doing. And no, they're not sabotaging Oscar either. Oscar isn't stupid. Not by a long shot. He gave back the position because he knows he can afford to do so. He isn't gonna let them screw him over and take advantage of him. Especially not when he practically has Mark Webber as his guardian angel. This isn't the team trying to manufacture a Lando win. I mean, he wouldn't have won because Max was almost 20 seconds ahead because Red Bull had a strategy that was actually good. GP told Max through radio about the decision and the swap, and Max expressed his surprise and what could only be described as amusement.
Norris and Piastri have swap places, Max.
Just because you had a slow start?
Well, it keeps it. It's not our business, but I guess it keeps it fair between the drivers in terms of championship.
Which makes it seem like whenever Max isn't yelling at the car because it doesn't work through radio, he likes to gossip. So that's fun.
You know you love me. XOXO. Gossip Girl.
Just because he had a slow start?
And both Lando and Oscar agree with this decision to swap. But a large number of people do not.
You know, there was clearly valid reasons for swapping back, and you know, Lando qualified ahead, was ahead the whole race, so I get that.
It's what we decided as a team beforehand.
If the team asks me to do something, then I'm going to listen to them.
You know, if it was the other way around, we've done exactly the same thing.
There's just some things we need to discuss.
If I was behind and Oscar had the same thing, I would have to give up my position, because it's not my fault, it's not Oscar's fault. It was a team mistake.
You know, I kind of said what I said, and the answer was still swap, so I'm going to respect that.
And I have to admit that this swap was somewhat reminiscent of the one that took place last year in Hungary in 2024, where the team asked Lando to let Oscar through, which eventually he did. This led to Oscar's first ever race win, which was probably somewhat of a bittersweet victory for him. Although that time it was a strategy mistake, because they should have pitted Oscar first. But they didn't. This time it was a technical issue, because the problem here was that the pit stop was horrible. And when Max said, oh really, just because he had a slow pit stop, it wasn't just a slow pit stop, it was the slow pit stop. That time in Hungary, Lando had to let Oscar through. This time it was Oscar who had to do so. This solution, whether you think it's fair or not, has been applied to both of them. Of course, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. You can agree with this decision, or you can be 100% against it. It's okay. But what isn't okay is I have seen people blaming Lando, sending hate and harassing him, which to me seems absolutely ridiculous. Because Lando didn't even ask for the position back. So if you're gonna be mad at someone, at least be mad at the right person. Lando didn't make that decision, the team did.
It's not his fault, it's theirs.
And there's the fact that there were people booing Lando on the podium, which is just absolutely heartbreaking.
But that was a relentless pace today.
It certainly was. Lando Norris. Is that cheers or jeers?
And it wasn't just one person, okay, or maybe a small crowd. No, it was a lot of people booing, which is just completely unacceptable and disrespectful. And if we could hear it through podcasts, I can imagine how it must feel actually being there. And I would like to think that those people booing were actually doing it out of ignorance, you know. They were attending, so they only saw the cars on track. They weren't aware of the things actually happening and, you know, the events that took place and that led to that decision. And, you know, maybe they were just really confused.
So either they were confused or maybe they're just bad people, but I would like to think it's the first one.
But it's just disrespectful and unacceptable. It was disrespectful when they did it to Max when he was dominating, and it still is disrespectful now. So to those who completely disagree with this decision, you have the right to disagree. You can have your opinion. But to those who are getting mad at Lando when he was just victim to a terrible pit stop, you can stop. Because he didn't even make the decision. He didn't even ask for the position back. I completely respect if you have a different opinion. You can write it down on the comments if you'd like. But let's keep it classy, no need to make it personal. All this drama to end up getting a trophy that looks exactly like an ID. Yeah.
Just look at that. It's the same thing. Oh.
The resemblance is just uncanny. So, thanks to those who watched. If you'd like to subscribe, that would generally make me really happy. And subscribing is free, so why don't you? So yeah, that's it. See you around.